All right, this is the regular meeting of the Darien, Connecticut Parks and Recreation Commission, June 12th, 2024. Calling the meeting to order at 7:37. We don't have a quorum at the moment, but we're going to start doing some things until our last individual arrives. We can go through the minutes. I know I had some comments. At least we can get those, and then we'll have to vote on them once Amy arrives. Adele, your comments got picked up, correct?
I don't know.
Yeah, I believe so.
There was one more addition. It was that Diane Conlon was present as well.
I don't see that, so we will add that. Okay. Janet or Jim or Kathy?
No changes.
No changes?
No, everything looks good.
Yeah, I didn't have any comments.
Okay. I had a few things in two places in the audience and elsewhere, and I'll give these to you, Jen. It says Joanne Raymond. It's Jan Raymond, Jan. So I have that. And yeah, it was also on the third page. She's a member of the RTM. And then on page 5, the discussion of the docking. Janet has you abstained, but it has your name spelled incorrectly with a K. It should be a C. And you didn't even
I missed
notice.
that. Yeah.
Hey.
Probably because I abstained. I was like,
Didn't care. And it was correct elsewhere, but just in that one spot.
great.
Further
Hey,
down.
Laurie, can you move the speaker closer to you? Because you're just kind of echoing, so I can't really hear
We want to move that
Yeah.
closer to us. Or... Oh, thanks.
Where did our
Adele.
technical support go?
I was sleeping.
Okay.
Now we lost us.
Now we lost us.
It's loose. Technical support. AV team.
Oh, it came out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's
It's
all right.
okay.
It's very loose.
It's
Hold on, Kathy. Okay. Does that work now so that they can see us?
You might have to change it back to settings box. Because it might have defaulted to something else. Because it's plugged in.
oh, you know what? Hold on. Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Is that better?
I guess we have to talk.
Yes, that's better.
Okay, great, thank you. Also, under the Weed Beach discussion, second paragraph, redness in me just has 2 S's. That's a very minor.
I'm sorry, which one?
Right here, redness in mead. I think it's 2 S's. And then on the update on Cherry Lawn Playground, the third paragraph, where it's quoting John Zagrodsky, when he's talked about volunteers, and it says he found Ms. Borer to be tenacious, smart, funny, and terrific.
It should have been.
Which would have been very nice, but he was speaking about Susan Daly.
That's
So,
the thought.
I cannot take credit for being tenacious, smart, funny, or terrific. So if we could change that to Ms. Daly. It's like, isn't that nice? But that wasn't. Page, what's 8? On the invasive sections, it refers to Chris Filmer. His name is not correct either. It's Filmer in 2 places. And I think that was it. Those are the items I had. But we have to wait to vote till Amy
Right.
gets here. I think we can probably then just report on your issues. Okay. All right, so don't let me forget to go back and click so we can vote on those when she gets here. Okay, do we have any public comment?
Not that I can remember. I'm supposed to be
Okay.
saying something for Cheryl, but I can't remember what it was.
Okay.
So I will have to get back to you on that.
It wasn't on the boulders?
I don't think so.
No? Okay. Okay. Okay, then with that, I am so pleased to introduce Jennifer Fava, who has joined us a couple weeks now? 2 weeks?
Yeah, about just over 2 weeks.
Just over 2 weeks. It was a very long 5 months with the position open, but we got a really good one. I'm just so thrilled that Jennifer's with her. Her combination of her experience in the Parks and Recreation space, her educational background, her demeanor, having most recently worked in Westport, which is a similar community, I think are all going to serve us just beautifully. And, you know, we've had a chance to spend some time together already, and a couple things came up the first few days. She was, oh, just wanted you to know. So jumping right in with all of those little issues. So welcome, we're just
Thank you.
thrilled beyond belief to have you here. So took a while because I know you gave Westport a lot of notice. You were-
Kind of had to do the right thing, so.
Yeah. So anyway, so
Gave them
it
time.
extended it out, but she's up and running now. So I thought it would be really helpful for us to have just a little bit of an open discussion with Jen, talk about her activities today. As you said, it's not been quite 2 weeks, so she's still getting up to speed. Objectives for the first few months, any preliminary observations, and just sort of a general chat on you know, how we see going forward as a team.
Sure. So, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'll just give a quick little background
Please
for
do.
those that haven't seen anything. Actually, you know, put together some notes so that I don't forget, because every now and then you do something and then you're like, oh, I forgot to tell them about this. I've been in the field for close to 32 years or so. So I got my undergraduate degree in leisure studies and resources, or recreation management, from the University of Massachusetts in Amherst. Came out, started working. While I was working, I also went back to school and got my MBA at Fordham. So then, if you think about it, my whole life has pretty much been in this. Starting at 14, I started working in our local snack bar at the pool, flipping burgers. So that was job number one. Became a lifeguard. So I've kind of come up, sort of, I'll say, through the ranks. Most of my career was in Westchester County, which is where I'm from. And then I worked out on Long Island for about 2.5 years before going to Westport, where, as Lori mentioned, I was there for just about 9 years. So as I went through that, I kind of worked my way up the ladder. New York has civil service, so there's all these different titles. So, I mean, I've been in there, I've run camp programs, I've done programs, I've run sports leagues, became, management level, and I've actually been basically running departments for about 20 years now, in 3 different locations, all with different titles because every place likes to call it something different. But other than that, again, also while I was in New York, I held positions on different boards. So, including president of both the Westchester Recreation and Park Society and the New York State Recreation and Park Society. So that's kind of a little bit about my background, kind of how I got into the field, and came up the ranks. So again, I have just kind of that background. I've kind of done it all other than being out actually mowing, mowing and lining the fields, although I've done that at some sessions and things like that. But so again, I've been here about a little over 2 weeks, and so far mostly been spending my time just trying to grasp everything and try to get a handle on it. It's as someone said to me today, you know, it's like drinking from a fire hose, just with everything coming up. So I'm trying to meet with staff individually, one-on-one, to just kind of get a feel for where they are, what they see. I still have a few more to go with that. Again, familiarizing myself with the various, processes, policies, because every place has their own little nuances, and finding some of that stuff is interesting. I'm like, what do you mean? And then again, also with the projects, obviously I'm going to need to get more deep dive into them, but trying to get a little bit of an idea about the various projects that are going, upcoming events. I've already sat in on fireworks meetings. So doing that, getting different things set up, and have done sort of the higher level review of the different parks and beaches. But now I'm going to start going around trying to do more in-depth. For instance, just today I spent almost 2 hours walking Selleck's Woods with
Chris
Chris Filmer.
I just
So
saw him. He said he had a lovely time with you.
yeah, so it was great. You know, learned things that I hadn't known before. Actually, it was first thing this morning, and I said, you know, I should just go home right now, because isn't it like you learn a couple things every day? I was like, I've learned my stuff. I should go home. So I'll be taking more time and going out through every facility and taking a little more in-depth visit. So that's kind of what I see over the next couple months. Again, getting a better handle on the budget and the projects. You know, before we know it, we'll be starting up budget process again. Even though we're just going to start the new fiscal year, but we'll be starting to look at that. And of course, as I'm going through, things are popping up, things that I think we might want to take a deeper look at for modifications. Again, maybe it's different policies or procedures of how we do things, different policies. Lori and I talked a little bit about a few things that we should probably take a look at as I get further immersed and a little more settled. You know, again, it's people keep, you know, with the fresh eyes, you start seeing things and it's like, okay, well, why are we doing it that way? You know, and I like people to tell me why, because maybe it makes sense why we're doing it that way, but I've already had a couple things, and something as simple as how we're saving some documents in our computer, like in our files, and they're like, oh, that makes sense. Like, oh, I like that. So let's do that. So, I mean, it can be silly little things but that hopefully will make life easier for everybody. So, I lost myself. So, again, another one of the things that we want to do is kind of get a better understanding of kind of the philosophy of the department, the commission, the administration, sort of in terms of, you know, what's expected or what's desired from the department. You know, perfect example of that is kind of how self-sustaining do we want the department to be. You know, some communities are, you know, we're looking to be more of a service, and we're only looking for 30-40% of our cost to be recovered. Others are close to 100% or more. So I've kind of gone through that process in Westport. So that might be something that we're talking about kind of trying to do here as well. But just trying to figure out where we should be steering the ship. And again, I was asked about some preliminary observations. So again, it's still very early, but you know, I kind of mentioned some of those, just some little things that can be done differently. You know, from a high level, the facilities all look to be in great shape. So that's good. We definitely have a great group of staff. They're very eager. They're very helpful. I have to say, they've endured all my interruptions already so far. I'm like, I'm sorry. You will continue to get this until I'm a little bit more comfortable or I have a better idea, but I'll probably be asking them questions for a year or so. But so they've just been great, and I think everyone's kind of, you know, really willing to chip in and work together, so that's great. And again, I just think a lot will become more evident the deeper dive that I'm able to do. So happy to answer questions that anybody might have, but that's kind of a general overview of what's been going on.
Well, I mean, we're excited to have you on board. Excuse me. You're coming in when this little town of Darien is kind of exploding too. You know, so many projects are going on downtown, Rotten Heights, etc. That's going to bring more residents in, and of course, it's going to put a demand on our parks and our beaches. So, you know, that's going to be, you know, something that we're all going to be, we as a commission and you,
Right,
are going to be facing in the next couple of years. How do we try to satisfy as many of our residents as possible? But, you know, they have a lot of demands, and they can be very vocal as well. So looking forward to having you with your experience and the experience that I'm sure you had in Westport that addressed those types of issues.
yeah. Oh, every day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'll second that, what Jim said, but yeah, I think my hope is that coming from Westport, you're already so used to the balancing act of, you know, hopefully balancing various constituency groups and needs.
Yeah.
So we're like that, hopefully on a smaller scale. So, you know, we're really looking forward to having your expertise, just helping us, you know, with that juggling act, because it's difficult. And like Jim said, you know, our population is growing, but with also our recent purchase of Bright Island, even though that's, you know, not quite it's not designated a park under the Parks and Rec umbrella, but I'm sure you and Lori will have, you know, a lot of involvement in what goes on there, and I think that is so special, but at the same time with a lot of eyes on it. So just looking for, you know, your expertise to help us with all of that.
Yeah.
So thank you.
That's a great point, Jen. And some of the Great Island discussions have been, as it rolls out, and I'll talk more later in my chairman's report about, you know, where the town is on that, but thinking about, and the consultants have talked about how what's designed there complements what we already have in the park services. So kind of looking at what we have here, they'll be referencing our master plan, but then how does that kind of change up that, or things we think about? We're going to have to be freshening up how we think about that. And, you know, the new apartment number was over 400. I've seen in the paper that the Nielsen's are looking to develop some of their property into, I think, what's maybe a couple hundred more apartments. So, you know, that's a long way out. But when you look at, you know, 600 possibly housing units with people who don't have yards, it's going to put a lot of demand on our open space. And, as we've had discussions about the different projects, what we hear from the constituents are really the balancing of, you know, open space, taking care of the environment, the ecology, with the demand for recreation. And that's really what we have to, and we wrestle with,
Right.
balancing a lot. And it's tricky because we take Great Island out, and even maybe with it, all of Darien's parks, I think, are less than just the acreage at Waveney, for instance. Yeah, for a similar population size. So, and as you saw today, we have some beautiful nature preserves, but they're nature preserves. So it's not necessarily where we're going to be able to put, you know, more ball fields or pickleball or this or that or the other thing.
Right.
You know, don't think there's any plain thought about that, at least. Something we've never discussed. So that's really what we've been wrestling with as a commission, is how to, you know, maximize the use of our space with not overburdening it.
Yeah. That's the trick.
That's the
It's
trick.
trying to figure all that out. Yeah,
Right,
definitely.
I mean, we're smaller than Westport in population, but we're also smaller in, you know, real estate, right?
Right.
So we have just, in a way, we have more limited resources, but at the same time, we are also up against the coast, which is really something that.
Right. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm looking at it as a fun challenge. So, but it is that balancing act, and that's everywhere. You know, but again, I think Westport is similar. You know, quite similar. The other, my time on Long Island was also on the coast, but so at least, you know, there's that versus some of the other communities. But you know, definitely it's looking for a good ride.
Thank you. I'm going to open up to Adele or Susan, because I have a lot of long service with that. Oh, and Kathy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Guess my back is to you. So.
No, it's okay. I'm hearing some of it, so it's going to be pretty quiet tonight, which is unusual for me. But welcome, Jennifer. And I'm really looking forward to working with you.
Thanks.
Absolutely. I think they're having a bit of trouble hearing very well on the Zoom, but
Okay.
you do what you can. I understand. Yes, welcome. We are so pleased to have you here. And really looking forward to what you bring to our town. And wow, we missed having guidance, I guess is the right word, and we are sure glad to see you.
Jumping in with both feet, that's for sure.
I just want to also say welcome. Looking forward to coming to meetings, hearing what you have to say, with you working with the commission. I ran the fireworks for a bunch of years, so when you said that word, I'm glad the department is now running it versus individuals.
Thank you.
Those two ladies have many, many years of experience and service to the town, so. Okay, great. We'll move on to the update on the pear tree project. It's gonna be here soon. Now, speaking of bringing fresh ideas, Jen suggested when we were putting the agenda together, the use of a cover sheet for the various agenda items when they're supporting materials, and she had this really nice template, which you saw in the package, which, you know, ties to the agenda item, what it's about, some background information, and backup documents, recommendations, and then she also, you know, drafted proposed wording for the resolution, which I think is terrific. And she was like, would you like to do this? And I was like, yay. So we worked together to get, you know, this first one ready, but I think we'll definitely adopt that for going forward, because I think it really helps the with the packaging, special, you know, readers or anybody else who is looking at the materials on the town website. It gives more information than just submitting a contract. So since our last meeting, which was in April when John Zagrodsky was here, we did talk to him about the pear tree project and the commission's desire for the selectmen to take up a discussion of that so that we could understand, you know, how and when that might move forward. So that did in fact take place, and Craig Flaherty from Redness and Mead and Dan Biggs made a presentation to the selectmen about the state of the pear tree parcel, you know, what's causing the flooding, the scientific data that indicates that the flooding will become more severe and more regular over the next, you know, decade or so. And, you know, kind of a, you know, this is what's likely to happen if we don't address it. So the selectmen did find it very compelling. And as a next step, asked that Dan Biggs provide a quote for the actions that are needed to go to the next step, which would ultimately be put out a bid package. As you recall, Dan had been asked to give an opinion of cost, which he had done for the town, and that's 6 months or more now, maybe longer, and that was about $6.5 million. But this would be really to tighten it up and have the package that the town actually could go out and solicit bids to find out what it will cost us to do the project. So Dan did just come back to us last week. Yeah, it was last week, with the proposal and the agreement, the consulting agreement, which was in the package. So it would be effectively an amendment to the original contract that we had with Weston and Sampson, and it goes through the details of the next step that are ready to prepare the bid package. So there's actually some more approvals and such. So our action, we'll have to wait till Amy gets here, will be to recommend, I believe that the selectmen are planning to do this, but you know, when Jen and I talked about it, we felt that it was important that the commission, you know, take a vote and indicate our support to say, yes, you know, we've seen this, the cost, we know you've had the meeting, and we really would like you to appropriate the money so that Weston and Sampson can go ahead and begin their work. So that's the background. Okay, so I will put that in the, we will step back pile. We may have to give a quick review to Amy, but we'll do that. So Janet, why don't we get into the playground designs, which are always fun to look at.
Jennifer's laptop is, so I can help, I can navigate some of the,
Where is...
Jeffrey, if you'll pull up that first one that was forwarded by Lori, with the design documents, I can start with that.
I don't know why it's not showing my screen.
To your Zoom, you mean? I mean, to your Outlook, you mean? Or are you just trying to
Yeah,
pull
I'm
up
just
the
trying to
email?
pull up, because I put them all onto the laptop, so it should show the,
Yeah, I see the photos on your desktop, but do you want to just open up the email itself, like at your Outlook or however?
well, it should be, maybe it's here.
Because I actually need to get some, get those
Cities
links that you
official.
sent to.
So,
Yeah,
See if it
those attachments are helpful. We can start with that.
I thought that's what you were looking for.
Sure,
these-
sure, it's fine. Yeah, I can start with any of them.
I don't get why, like, that should be on the Zoom. It's not,
Are you Kathy, can you see her desktop? I think you are sharing it.
Yeah, I can just see the desktop with a list of files, that's what I can say.
Can you
Yeah.
see the quote file, like that's open from,
Yeah, so it says Baker EFDCB.
yeah, no, see, that's, I don't,
It's
I mean, you
not
can-
showing anything else.
if you want to see this, you're welcome
Because
to
it's showing
check.
up here.
yeah, that's weird. I would have thought
You
that.
can,
Because it says you are screen sharing.
It says you're screen sharing.
But not on the Zoom?
but anyone should be able to share screen and Zoom and let them talk out.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But when you open it, why wouldn't it?
Because that should be my screen.
Kathy, you still only see the window of the files, but not the actual document?
Yeah, I'm just seeing the window.
Huh.
I'm not seeing the document. The other alternative is we circulate all the documents. and
I say,
have them
do you want to
on our
email the
laptops.
documents to Kathy quickly?
Sure.
I don't understand that. That makes no sense.
It's spinning right now. So,
Okay, so let's see.
Okay, so maybe we'll wait for Amy to join. for-
Well, why don't you fiddle with
Can-
that?
Can you see a picture of a rendering of the playground?
no, but you can talk to it, that's okay. That might be the best way to handle it right now.
Yeah, Kathy, I just forwarded you,
Open it up.
Kathy, I just forwarded you the source file itself, or the source email.
No, we still have tech issues.
Oh, she can't hear us?
Okay, well, why
Here,
don't we do
I'll,
that then?
yeah. Kathy, let me know if you, get my 2 emails. Can you hear us?
I will.
Okay.
Yes, I will, it's just up here, I was talking.
Okay. Yeah, as soon as you get the second email, if you can open it up to, just open up the photos that are attached. That's the rendering of the design that we've been working with the consultants at MRC, both their designer, as well as the consultant himself, Mike Stankina.
Yeah, Janet, I have your email, so go ahead.
Perfect. Okay, so right now in the room, we're looking at the first photo.
Janet, can you tell us just about how the advisory group settled on this particular playground designer?
Sure. Sorry,
No, I don't know. I don't understand it.
I know.
I've never had that
Here.
happen before.
Here, this is the first one, right? Okay. Okay, so just give some background. The Baker Park Rehabilitation Advisory Group was formed in about January and February, where we, put together a 5-person group, 2 of which are all of us, including myself, are moms with fairly, little kids, but, not older than 12. And the playground the current playground is a 5 to 12 playground, even though I think a lot of feedback has been provided. Yeah, that it seems to be, catering to a younger population. But the only reason it's designated as a 5 to 12 playground is because there is really just one feature, which is that spinning monkey bar thing there that makes it, because it's higher up, like if you were to drop down from that, like you can't be like, under 5, or you can, but you may get hurt. So that's why I think because of that one feature, it's designated as a 5 to 12 age group playground. And so we wanted to make sure that we get input from parents of kids who actually would frequent that playground, between age 2 and 12, all the way through 12, and to really help decide what should go there and who they would like to see be attracted from that playground. So we have 3 moms, including myself, who live, all within very close vicinity, Tokenique, Salem Spray area. Another one is on near water, like right here on this road, which is, within very close proximity to Norotan Avenue. And 2 moms who are actually neighbors of the playground, who live, one directly across, like Post Road from the playground, who frequent, the space very frequently, as well as another neighbor who lives, a little bit downwards, but also, a couple of minutes walk, and their children, both of their children, just use that space very, very frequently. So the working group has so far met, I want to say three times. First meeting was in March, end of March. It was an on-site meeting where we all met each other and walked the grounds, really spent good time walking through the whole, both the playground area as well as the rest of the park with the field and the trails, and, really explored areas that could potentially, even once the playground itself has been rehabilitated, just like to get ideas and gather, what else could be done in the space. So that was end of March, and then we had a regular meeting in April. We had a special meeting in May, because a regular meeting, there were some administrative snacks that we didn't get the agenda in on time. So we had a follow-up meeting on May 21st. And then our third regular meeting was just yesterday, June 11th. So most of our regular meetings are actually over Zoom, besides that one special meeting, the very beginning. And the group, in my opinion, has worked very collaboratively. The women just have, really good ideas, because they, go straight to the source and ask their kids what they like to do. One of the early decisions that we had made and had approved as a working group was that we will keep it as a 5 to 12 designated age group playground, just because we wanted to be forward thinking, and even if it currently attracts more 2 to 5, we wanted to make sure that, given its proximity to town, to the train station, to, Post Road, we really wanted to make sure that we do, in the future, attract older kids as well, especially from what we hear from the neighbors. Even if they have really little kids right now, they're looking ahead to when, these kids will grow, and they would like to have that space for them to, be engaged and play for a long time to come. So with that, we looked at, we looked at 3 different vendors to start, 2 of which were more provided more rustic, natural looking, naturalistic themed playground equipment that we first, as a group, thought that we really should at least explore. We thought it would be, something different from any other playgrounds in town that are more traditional with more primary colors. And we talked to Cassie, who I know, Cassie Shull in the department, who went to a lot of conferences for playground equipment, and, had the research around what color themes attract what age group kids. And at first, I think we thought that we thought the research showed that, you know, primary colors were really the colors that attracted most amount of kids, but then it turns out it's actually more nuanced than that, in that the primary colors attracted younger kids, but actually are not attractive to anyone who's like above 9 years old, because kids from like 9 to 15 do become more sophisticated in their color palette and would like things that are, you know, slightly more neutral, earthy, just overall, you know, less bold and, you know, less primary colors and more rustic. So with that in mind, we also talked about the style of the playground. We went and spoke with, we actually met, you know, 2 vendors on site that specialize in naturalistic playgrounds. Thierry, one of our working group members who used to be on the commission with us, but who's now still in town, she has one of these naturalistic, you know, playground equipment's made out of wood in her home. So her vendor was one of the people I met with on site, and together as a group, after reviewing, you know, what he had proposed, we realized it just wouldn't last long enough for the town to pay for a playground, you know, that may only last like 8 to 10 years, as opposed to like 15 to 20, which is how long the current Bakerfield dinosaur playground has lasted. So with that, really solely with that in mind, we decided not to pursue a more naturalistic themed playground, even though we all loved it from a aesthetics perspective. We just felt that it was not practical for the town. So then we went and continued our conversation with MRC, who is a consultant that the town has worked with on, you know, many other projects. Like I think they've bidded for the Cherry Lawn project. I know we ended up going with Miracle, but Mike from MRC was very helpful. We met with him and his, you know, the game. So he represents Game Time as well as a few other vendors, but I think he's most familiar with Game Time, and his installers have installed more Game Time vendor modules, but they also represent Big Toy, which is also a naturalistic themed playground company. But again, the cost is significantly more, it doesn't last as long, so we decided to just pursue, you know, Game Time with them. We've been working with him for over the last 2 months, and so, you know, he has a designer that actually, you know, created these renderings. So, you know, we started off with him showing us just within that size, what are some of their off-the-shelf modules that, you know, will fit and that will be appropriate and certainly within our budget. And so he gave us like maybe 7 or 8 as a starting point, and the working group looked at all of them. We talked, you know, pretty extensively. I think all of us took it back to our kids and had them look at it to see, you know, what looks fun. And we all kind of decided that this one module called Mossy Banks stood out a lot to almost all of us because it's more of a venture climbing, you know, type of module that had a lot, like you could spend a lot of time on it. And with that, you know, you could also customize it. And so we did do some minor customizations. We added a few elements that are, you know, not part of the standard module, but they have so many little customizations you could do. And we've, you know, so I can go through this right now with the commission, and just so you guys can take a look at what we've added. And we're still in conversation with them to continue to add a few more pieces, because we should have it within our budget. One of the things I just want to let the commission know before I dive into the actual design is that in the beginning, Mike was with our $161,000 budget, which he told me was a very healthy budget for, you know, that space. I think he had thought that we may even have enough budget to do poured and play surfacing, which was something that the group was interested in. As we all know, like, you know, it's safe. We've done research on it in the past for the other playgrounds, for Cherry Lawn, for McGuan, and, you know, we know it lasts. We know it's safe, and it's great for, you know, if kids fall down, like it's got the put and play rubber is just amazing. But so we thought that if we could swing it, we would have loved to have that instead of it's wood mulch right now. And, you know, we could, but that area is very shady. So, you know, the mulch sometimes can get we thought they could get a little bit moldy, especially, you know, the ones under the initial surface, because in the summertime, there's a lot of tree canopy over it. And so when we first picked out Mossy Banks with the customizations, we felt like if the port and play costs, say, let's say around $45,000, we still had, you know, we thought we would still have enough left to, you know, purchase a couple other standalone pieces. And he was waiting, once he provided us with a quote for installation last Friday, we realized that was actually not in the budget. So I think the installation quote came back much higher than he had anticipated. And I had asked him for the itemized installation quote, which was actually the document we were just looking at. So with that said, we've scrapped the port and play. We're okay with, you know, at least from the working group's perspective, okay with sacrificing port and play in order to get more playground equipment, because the Mossy Banks itself, with all the minor customizations we've done with it, already costs like $62,000. And then the installation quote, and I will go through it, ended up being like, and there's room to trim that, because, you know, he's gonna go, this is just the first round, he says, and he will go back to the installer and renegotiate. So we'll have some savings there. The idea here is that we, you know, as a working group, we really felt like Mossy Banks, with all the customizations we did, still wasn't quite enough for that. There's like still some empty space there that we wanted to add, just, you know, like some type of climber that was like a spinning climber that we know kids absolutely love. That is not part of the standard Mossy Banks. Like the one that Cherry Lawn that we're actually keeping, you know, that globe.
One, yeah.
Yes, so that one's staying at Cherry Lawn, which is great, because that one is probably one of the kids' favorites. And so the idea here is that, like, we want to make sure that, you know, we have sufficient amount of entertainment, especially if we're willing to go back to the wood mulch. So with that, I, you know, want to show you guys the renderings.
Hey Janet, are we sticking to the same area that the dinosaur park
Same
is
footprint?
at?
Yes,
We're
about
not
the same.
extending that at all? Okay.
We're not extending it too much, but I will want to touch on sort of the retaining wall that also needs to be replaced there, because those wood are, you know, have decayed and they're no longer viable to just, you know, stay as a retaining wall. And we still need a retaining wall because there is that grade difference,
Right.
especially since we're looking to include a swing set at the upper level now. So Kathy, do you mind opening up Baker Park A002 picture from the email? Or you don't, it's the one that's like the bird's eye view, the aerial view. If you're able to find it, give me a thumbs up.
You're
Cool.
muted.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's okay.
Okay, I saw the thumb go up there.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see it.
So this is a good, can I, okay, is this more helpful?
Yeah.
All right. So this is where the Norton Avenue Road is, just so we are orienting ourselves in the right direction. So this is the current playground, and right now there's nothing here. There's the retaining wall here that separates the grade change, like the higher grade is here, and then, you know, this part is like maybe, like I want to say like almost like 3 feet tall of a retaining wall that's made out of wood. And our hope is that we could do a swing set there, because I feel like that the whole working group agreed that that playground always missed a swing set, and that was never a part of it, and kids always, you know, would like to have one. But there's no space within the playground, the current footprint, to do the swing set, so we have asked them if it was possible for them to, you know, create a mulched area in the higher grade level and then do a swing set there. So they do it, yep.
So Janet, there's a lot of trees in that area.
Yep.
And so I don't know if the renderings show all of those trees and how you're gonna work with them. Tell me if it does. It's just a question I had.
Yes.
Because there's also a lot of tree,
Stumps.
there's also, yeah, there's a lot of tree stumps, there's a lot of roots.
Yep.
All of those things in the area.
For sure. That's why we had to meet with them on site so many times, because they in order to give us a proper installation quote, they had to look at all of that. And so they have taken that into consideration. The trees, actually, this space that they've rendered out is within a space that's actually open enough. Like the actual trees are like somewhere right around here. But there are tree stumps here. You're right, Kathy. So they had taken that into consideration, what they have to do in order to.
So we have a stumper, so in theory, that staff should be able to remove the stumps.
That we might even get a discount for being able to do that ourselves. I was told that there's really not much the town has capacity to do, and that's actually a question that, you know, I was going to defer to the commission in terms of how much mulching can the town help us with. Like, is there a way that we could remove the existing mulch that's there? You know, that would cut down a lot on this $8,500 worth of mulch installation fee. That, I mean, we can negotiate that, but it's not, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd obviously have to look into that to see what things that maybe we could do, whether it's stump grinding or, you know, and removal, maybe
Of the
removal
mulch.
of what's there.
Yeah, or, and then, but on an ongoing basis, like, from what I understand, annually we have to replenish some mulch, right? So that's something the town could do, right? Or,
I mean, we replenish it on an annual basis. I
Mhm.
mean, it's a costly thing and it's a time-consuming thing. So I will tell you, I mean, I'm sure our staff would say, go with the poured in place,
Yeah.
just for that reason, for the maintenance reason.
right.
You know, one thing I would say though, in terms of mulch is, although it's considered ADA accessible,
It's
it's not really accessible. I mean, for whether it's children in wheelchairs, you know, caregivers, grandparents, whatever, that might not be quite as stable. So I just think that's something that we should just look at and keep in mind. You know, it would be in a cost. Again, that might be, if we're now adding to, we're almost doubling, it looks like, the size if we put in the swings. So there'll be an additional cost each year to what we're doing.
And
with
this
mulch, if it's all, you know, kept as mulch, but.
okay.
I just have a quick question to that on that one. Is this park designated an ADA compliant park?
I don't think so.
I don't think so,
I don't
because
think
currently there's
specifically.
not a path from the parking lot
Right.
to
So
the
would
park.
it would be a nice to have, but I'm not sure if it's not in the budget, if that's.
Right, because certainly what's not in the budget is to create a trail, like a path. you
Right,
know,
okay,
also.
I just wanted to clarify that, just because
Yeah,
we were going on
that's what I'm just saying,
that.
it should just be
Just-
thought about as part of the process as we
Right,
go
a
through.
consideration,
Right.
yes.
But that's not gonna have an impact on us going forward with the project, that it has to be ADA compliant,
No, I think we're saying it doesn't,
right?
but that she should just consider it as part
Do
of the
we
whole,
want it
as
to be?
an
Right.
option, or
Okay.
do we want it to be, or whatever, but I don't think we have to if we don't
I
want
guess
to,
that's a-
because
I'd
it's
have
not
to
compliant.
double check that,
Yeah.
just, because I think you may have to make a certain amount of it accessible. You know, it might not be that every piece has to be.
Maybe not the
Um,
swing, but the other thing.
Right, so I'll just have to double
I think
check
we
on
need to
that, what
research
the.
that.
Right,
Understand.
also, I don't know anything about it,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering if there are rules, one sec, Kat, I'm wondering if there are rules that are all of the parks, playgrounds together, and whether a certain percentage of all the playgrounds taken as a whole need
Right.
to be ADA compliant, or whether it's each individual.
Right, and that's one of the things I would want to check on,
Right.
is just, is it looked at in the totality or each playground
Exactly.
individually?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kath, go ahead.
Kathy?
Yeah, I was just saying, even though it may not be a requirement of us, I think as a goal for our parks, we had considered that we wanted to try and make at least part of it accessible from an ADA perspective. So if that's something where we could see if there's additional funds to make part of this park accessible, I think that might be helpful because it is centrally located. And so it might be, just another option for people with kids with disabilities. Just something to think about, and I know it's a financial issue as well.
Yeah, no, I think probably everybody would love to do that. It's just a question of understanding the full picture.
One of our considerations that we did discuss was that it is in such close proximity to McGuan, and McGuan is ADA compliant, right?
Well, yeah, it's the full pour and play.
Right, but and there's a path from the parking lot, right?
So we designated McGuan.
Exactly. Like I think I recall we had this conversation with McGuan, especially given its proximity to the train station,
Yes.
and to Norotan, like all the new development there. So I think this one, at least with the budget that we're given now, I don't think pour and play is in the budget, because that would at least be 45,000. So that would take up basically like, a big chunk of,
About a third.
right. Okay, so,
You wouldn't get as many play apparatuses.
well, it's even now without the
You-
pour and
you
play,
can't go.
we're already feeling like stretched.
Pinched.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Kathy, I'm now on this rendering that is, I think it's called 002. Are you able to see that? It's basically like two photos after the aerial view, with like an oval on the bottom right.
Is that it?
You good?
Is it up on the screen?
Yes, I see it.
Okay.
Okay, great. So this is from this angle, you can kind of see, so it still has the 3 rotating monkey bar hanging things that rotate, that's actually there right now, that from what we understand the kids love. I have an open action item to find out about this piece, how it actually works, and whether they can tell us. From what we understand, a lot of playgrounds in Greenwich use Game Time and have similar, modules. So we want to go and have our kids like visit some of these to understand how this piece.
Janet, what is it?
It's a monkey bar, but it's like a linear one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it may rock from side to side. I could be wrong, but I think.
Yeah, or
it
like
goes
we were told that it just like you're supposed to go like this. So we want to understand just on a
Thanks,
practical
Jen.
level,
I thank you.
on a practical level, how it could.
So it's
work.
the one where the cursor is. That's the one.
Yes,
you-
exactly. Like
okay,
just this
all right.
little linear
I thought Jim
piece.
was gonna go point it out.
Yeah. It's like, it's basically a variation of this, but if it would rotate, that would actually be kind of
I
fun.
think that's what it is. So
But
you're
the
trying to
designer
hang
did
them,
not
but I don't know.
say
I
that
could
to us,
be
so I'm
wrong.
gonna ask them.
I could be wrong, but I've seen some like that before.
And there's a little landing pad here from, when you get across this thing, and land over here. And then here is basically like a little,
Balance beam?
yeah, this is a balance beam, but like, look, there's continuity from this landing pad that just some little elevated stools that you can kind of jump on and traverse through. The interesting thing is once it gets to this part, you can see these lily pads that actually becomes staggered and elevated
Fun.
in a way that you can kind of traverse all the way without touching the ground, and then go all the way through the lily pads up to this second floor.
That looks super fun, and you avoid the
Yeah, I
alligators.
like it, Janet. I think it looks fun and sort of interesting and different.
Mm-hmm. As opposed to just like stairs leading up to,
Yeah, yeah.
And then here comes a piece that was a customization by our committee member Thier, who thought that it would be very interesting for there to be like an area where kids can role play. So this is a storefront that we added like, with this little shelf, you know, like a little table with 2 chairs on both sides that kids can rest, you know, and have a space that they can just, you know, role play games as opposed to just only play, you know, just like where they constantly have to be moving. And this is something where they can, you know, have a game. And
We have that over here at the playground too.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, and kids love that, especially because there's sand and, you know, they play like family and things like that.
Yeah, they can use their
Kitchen.
imagination. and
Right,
be-
more imaginative
as
play.
opposed to athletic play.
Right. And we just added some small features like the steering wheel, the you know, telescope. You can see a little bit of the swings here. That's a 2-bay swing with 2 wings, 2 swings in each bay, so like 4 total. One other action item that's on my plate from our meeting yesterday is to go back to the designers and ask them not why, but really just ask them to rotate the swing so it's facing the road and facing this playground. So if someone's pushing a kid on the swing, they can also observe or monitor their other kids that's playing on this playground, as opposed to, you know, just looking at like a piece of grass.
Did you consider these swings that Susan says everybody loves? They're probably a lot more expensive.
So this swing set is like $4,300. It's actually more expensive to install the ones we have.
So this is not the swing set that's
No,
been
it's
sitting in the
not.
garage?
It's not.
Okay.
I've shown them the swings in the garage. They first said they can't insure that because it's not theirs. Number 2, they are not even sure their installer would install that because they said that once they would need to go to the garage and actually inspect it. But he told me even if they're willing to, the cost would be higher than buying this new swing and having them install that, just because to figure out how to retroactively like put cement blocks down to secure it when it's not their product is like very difficult, and it's a challenge that would be much more costly than just having them do their standard swing.
Hey, Janet?
Yep.
And we heard something similar at Cherry Lawn, so that's pretty consistent.
Okay. Yeah, I think if we went back to the same vendor that made that swing, you know, for this whole thing, it would be no-brainer. But it's much more difficult when you're not using the same vendor.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jim.
No, I was gonna say, growing up, my kids all use this playground, and then my grandkids use it, so I'm pretty familiar with it. Where the swings are, wouldn't that land have to be leveled? Because I think it goes up and then it gets down with a slope.
They said that whatever small grade, it's like not significant that, you know, it's all part of the installation quote, and maybe that's why it's so expensive, but it's, they thought it was totally doable.
Okay.
They thought it was
This
leveled
looks like
enough.
Okay.
Like that, I mean, it's not a large, they basically needed to make sure that there is some setback requirements, you know, regulatorily, that like from a swing, like when you land.
Fall zones.
Yeah, so as long as that is there, and this is why I need to go back to them to understand, is that why they have them facing that way? Because there's not enough depth
It could be.
to face this way, you know, so those are just some questions that we had.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you have a couple of neighbors that live across the road and in the neighborhood, because they look at it all the time, I'm sure they use it all the time.
Right.
And so their input's gonna be really important.
And then Kathy, I'm just zooming in on the little oval down here to just show you the back end of the storefront, you know, that we had these 2 benches added as well. And from there, you can also see from the oval, you can, on the left side of the oval, you can see a little climbing rope. That's also a customized feature that we added that is not part of the hardscape, but it's, you know, something that they could easily do. That is, again, another climbing feature. And then let's move to the next rendering, which just gives it more of a landscape view, you know, of the main module itself. And the next photo after that with the oval on the bottom left with the zooming into the telescope, that just shows you the backside a little bit more. That, you know, is closer to the neighbors, like there's a home, you know, here on this side that's actually fairly close to the playground. So that's the view that they would see. And this is just more of a traditional, you know, ladder up to be elevated. And here's a little bongo drum that kids can play.
Fun.
And then the photo after that, I think that's just another view where you're looking at the added climbing rope. Is there anything else? Park. Yeah, I think
some of the heights of this, Janet.
Oh,
think
I
we
was
went
just
through.
writing that down.
Just-
For my question.
We do get asked about heights.
Yeah. Let me see. So,
It might be that playground model.
yes, let me just go in there.
I guess also sort of more specifically, how does the height of the tallest part compare to the current highest point?
It's not that different. Because we did tell them that it gets there's a lot of tree canopy
Yeah.
that, you know, in the summertime that will limit the height. And so we told them that we didn't want the height to be, it's nothing like, I'm actually looking for it, yeah, but it's nothing like the tall one at McGuan. You know, the taller
Okay,
feature,
right,
like
right.
at McGuan. It's very similar to the existing thing.
So maybe within a
Dinosaur.
foot of what it is?
I don't want to
Okay.
quote that, but I can come back to the commission with that
It's the same
information.
5 feet, so that might be that that platform is 5
The
feet
platform
high.
is 5 feet, yeah, but then you've got like
The
at least
railings.
another 5 feet of railing, so it could be like 9 or 10. But I need to find out exactly.
Yeah, I think that's an important comparison to what exists now,
Janet, is
just so
there
we're
any
prepared.
2 to 5 sort of playground materials at the site right now, or not at all? It's all 5 to 12 right now.
Because it's really just that one module that's all connected, I think the whole thing is considered 5 to 12. I mean, there are elements of it, of course, like, you know, that are smaller. But I think it's designated as its most riskiest feature.
Well, the swing set looks like it's for younger children because they have their legs, you put their legs through, I mean, those buckets.
Oh, those are just an example. Like,
Oh, I see. So that's
yeah,
what-
they
yeah.
did that on their own. We never even told them because we hardly even, we talked about we want a swing set
Mm-hmm.
and they just drew that. We haven't gotten to like what each bay would look like or anything like that. We've been just focused on the customizing the mossy banks,
Gotcha.
like the main piece. But Kathy, you're talking about the existing one, right? The dinosaur one?
Yeah, I was thinking about the dinosaur one, just sort of making sure we're not taking anything away from anyone, and it doesn't sound like we are. That's why I was asking the question, because sometimes
Yeah.
if someone's used to going there because it's for smaller children, but I don't remember there being anything 2 to 5, and I spent a lot of time at that playground, so.
Right. In fact, we are hoping to add a couple things that are for 2 to 5, like those spinning cup chairs that are at the 2 to 5 at Cherry Lawn. Those are something that the 2 women who live close by specifically had mentioned, and you know,
They
and
have
those are not
they have those in
inexpensive.
Henley.
Yeah.
My granddaughter,
They really love that. So, and those were inexpensive. They're like $1,500, so we could add like a couple of those, you know, within the
That would be
budget.
great, because a lot of people use that park to watch games, like baseball and soccer, right? And so there'll be younger kids sometimes
Siblings.
at that park.
Exactly, right. That because of that soccer field for, you know, DSA, there are a lot of younger siblings that come with, and then we'll use the park. So those are actually things we're looking to add. It's not in the current design. I wanted to. Kathy, I'm just looking to close this document and find a way to, okay, right. Okay, so this is the itemized installation quote, which I'll get to. This is the overall quote. So right now, Kathy, I'm looking at that document that starts with 114474 quote. So, you know, we still have some remainder from our 161,000 budget, but keep in mind, this is not even with the port and play. This is install of EWF, which is engineer wood fiber, which is wood mulch. This is the pricing of, you know, the modules themselves. 2 base swing, 4,700. The main piece is 62,000. The geotextile square foot roll, I believe is the,
Probably filter fiber.
yeah, I need to find out what that is. Engineer wood fiber safety surfacing. So this 8,000 here, I think is the, sorry, I don't know what that is. I think that's gotta be the new mulch. And this 12-inch playground border, that is
Retaining.
the retaining wall, but it's not just the wall itself. The wall itself is actually called the railroad ties that are just like made out of wood. But we're looking for this like top cap that sits on top of it that is wider, that also provides a little bit of seating for just that one side of the four, you know, edges that is higher and that, you know, is like about 3 feet that serves as the retaining wall, but can also be a seating area for like caretakers and or kids. And then I asked for an itemized quote for this whole thing that, you know, just came in this lump sum 74,000, which he told me can automatically be subtracted 10,000 if the contract is directly with the town, because we're their state, you know, approved state contract vendor that is on the the Connecticut approved list of vendors that is pre-approved for state contracts, and so we get some kind of discount that doesn't, as long as we don't go through some kind of liability insurance that doesn't go through the consultant, that as long as the contract is directly with Game Time with the town, which is what we would do. So so here is the actual detailed itemized quote for installation. You know, the unit install 18,000, the install of the swings 3,500, which we were told that if they were to install not something that's not their swing, it would be significantly higher, that number. This is the mulch itself, like that costs this much. I need to understand the difference between this and that 8,000 number.
One is probably the material itself, and this is probably the labor to install it at the proper depth.
Yes, because this is in the installation quote. So, you know, I wanted to
like
ask.
a lot for wood chips, like $8,000. I don't know.
I know.
Yeah.
He said he could probably negotiate it down, but he said not by much. That's just kind of, but again, this is both with the swing area that is new.
Right, both of them.
Yeah,
So maybe-
and the
and
existing.
I don't know how deep they have to be, and
Well, here it says it's 12.
12 inches.
12 inches depth.
Okay.
Because this is the initial installation. Every year you don't need to do 12.
That much, you have to keep
Right,
it at a
yeah,
certain
I
height.
get it,
Yeah.
So that the whole thing is a certain depth, you probably need to keep it 12 inches. It depends on how high the equipment is and
Yeah.
what the fall attenuation needs to be.
Well, it also
Right, that
depends
makes
on
sense.
apparently how deep the concrete block is that secures what's above ground.
Yeah, it all has to do with the.
That
yeah.
right. So the
And
deep,
the
like
height.
you know, I think this is their recommended depth for the mulch in order to sufficiently cover the cement blocks that are deep in the ground. Railroad ties are the wooden blocks that we
makes
talked
sense.
about.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
like one layer on, you know, around the perimeter, but then 2 layers on 2 of the sides.
Do you happen to know what the railroad ties are treated with? Generally, they're treated with creosote, which is not great environmentally, but it does keep them longer. So there's a longevity aspect to that. That
Let me
I
take
just
that
throw
as
that out
an
there.
action item.
just
Can I use
something, just so you can weigh the pros and cons of the environment as well as the longevity of the material.
Yeah.
Just so that you can make an educated recommendation.
Yeah, okay. It's like longevity versus environmental impacts, right?
But
And also,
generally they
kids are
they
staying
are
on it.
treated with creosote, which is a chemical that's not great.
okay.
But that's what they are. So
Okay, yeah, I'll find out. And this top cap, again, it's to install that seating area, like the labor that takes to install that seating area that you're paying for, you know, as part of the equipment.
yeah.
This number here is what I'm hoping he can really work with us on. He himself was very surprised by it, but this is what, and he had quote, this is the lower of the 2 quotes that he received. He had quoted 2 separate certified installers. And, you know, this is something that I had asked if this is something that the town had resources to do, but it sounds like we don't.
Again, I'd have to check if any, well,
That's what Susan told me from her recent exercise with Cherry Lawn, that part of the quote is just like they need to remove the existing thing too. And it gets very expensive.
She said that at the town they couldn't do that.
No.
What about the disposal since we own the dump? I mean,
I think it's, yeah, I can ask, but it's
it's the
supposedly.
town, what the town dump it, you know. if
Because it's not just
within the
disposing the piece that we see, it's disposing the concrete
It's-
blocks below.
Sure.
right.
That supposedly is what's so
Well,
costly.
Sort of industrial waste. So I'm curious to know
Does
whether
the town
one
charge
department
itself?
charges another department for that, or whether, because of course when the,
Or what does
when
it cost
other-
the town, you know? But it sounds like it was like,
or whether we need to pay for that part.
Jennifer, do you think that's something you could at
I mean,
least
I'll
ask?
I'll look into it, you
Okay.
know, because also again, I don't know how this town dump works, but
Right.
typically at some point they get to a fill point and then it's got to be taken away. So there is a charge to do that. I know that's what's happened to us me in the past and
Yeah.
in past
So do they,
places. So
do they,
and it
do
goes
they
by
charge
weight and
in
things like that.
inter-departments?
I don't know yet.
So, yeah.
So yeah,
Did
so
they do it in
probably-
Westport?
we'd probably need to find
Did Westport charge a different department to do?
it would depend. I mean, something like this isn't just regular waste, and after a while, you will have to ship it out, and it gets charged per ton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they might say, well, this is your, you
Right.
know,
Once
from
this is
that
your bill.
source. This is your bill
Yeah.
for this
And which,
particular item
which
project.
if it's lower than this number, it still makes sense, right? So it's more like, what is the cost to the town?
Right, and
to
if
do
we
that.
would have the manpower to be able to, and the equipment to be able to rip stuff out and
Yeah, or
take it wherever it has to go, or is it dumpsters or however it's.
right, or to Amy's point, maybe we have them rip it out if we can do the disposal, you know, like anywhere. But again, after all that slicing and dicing, I'm not sure we can, you know, it's the number, it has to make sense, like that, the number still has to be lower than
If you say
the.
$5,000 on it,
Absolutely.
you know, that's another swing or whatever.
Or like
Yeah.
those chairs that
Or the
spin, you know,
chairs,
multiples
yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely worth asking. And this 12,500 number is also expected to come down by a little bit. I don't know what that is, so we're going back for a second pass. But this $8,500 number for the removal of the existing mulch is what I was really hoping to find out
Right.
if the town could help with that.
Yeah, I'll find out.
Okay.
The other question is, can we donate the equipment? Maybe we have the group that's taking all of the equipment from
Cherry Lawn?
Cherry Lawn.
Oh.
That's going to Guatemala. We got a
Brilliant.
lovely
Brilliant.
letter from them.
Oh,
How
nice.
appreciative they are for the equipment and how it's going to be used and the number of children it's going to serve.
Did we have to pay to ship them?
I don't think so. Maybe it was just part of the budget. I love that idea.
No, I know, to be able to recycle things like that.
Yes,
It's
from your
amazing.
friends at Darien.
Yeah, that really lovely letter.
Yeah. Oh, maybe you can share that with us.
So, are we able to pull up your email?
And maybe we could get a little press on that.
Because I want to get those links.
That's a really fun thing
I
that
was seeing
people
those
would like to
links
know.
too. That's in the second email I forwarded. I was like, can you
Oh,
have this on file?
I just did that second thing. I thought that's what you would wanted, was that,
Oh, it wasn't an
it was
attachment.
the proposal.
It was some links. No, that's okay. You know what? Let me try to just go to their website.
I wonder if we could ask the people who sent the letter if we could print it as a kind of letter to the editor in the paper,
That would be another option.
right? Easier option.
Yep.
What do you think about that idea, Jen? It's kind of a fun idea, right? Get the letter from Guatemala printed in the paper.
Yeah, I mean, it's
I
not
think-
from, it's from the kid, I actually put it in my notes here for
I
something.
think it's good PR for us.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's great PR, and I think the town would really love it from a recycle standpoint, from an outreach program, everything.
So, Kathy, just so you know, I'm now on that email. I think it was the first email I forwarded you. You know how there are some links in there where he says, here are some other spinning options or something, or no. A climber, a Vista Treetop 1, I think. It's the first link
I think
in
it was
his
the first
email.
of the two links.
Yes, it's the first one. And it takes you to this thing that looks kind of like the one in Cherry Lawn, but it's more of a cone shaped as opposed to.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
I see it, thanks.
So if on that website, there's a little magnifying glass icon on the upper right. If you just type in Vista Tree, one word, you get multiple versions of that. That's what I just did here. So these all cost differently depending on how intricate they are. And these are things that the working group, you know, in looking at their catalog, felt like would be the most fun for kids, just because the one at Cherry Lawn is such a hit. You can climb, but it also spins. And you know, the cheapest one's 13,000. That's definitely in our budget. But you could go up, you know, to like this one that's similar but has more levels, or this one that even you can go inside, you know, through this little hole. I don't believe you can get into. I don't know. Maybe you could.
Doesn't look like you can.
Okay, yeah, maybe not. We're right now looking at Vista Treetop 3, Kathy. You know, it's just something that has 2 levels. But then what is the point of this in the second level if you can't go in?
It's probably
Okay.
keep a ceiling on it, right? So you can't climb up all the way in
Yeah,
there.
Right, but I
Is
feel
that
like
what you were thinking,
yeah,
Jim?
that's why I just.
I feel like kids are gonna want to climb as high up as possible. So I almost think this one's better than. Anyway, we're just looking at all these, and you know, obviously we're waiting for them to come back with a more updated, cheaper, and realistic quote, so we know how much we have left to spend.
Mhm.
Because right now we're already at like 154, you know, so it's not a lot. And if we want to do anything else with like the swing or.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
you guys
I'm surprised that you're fitting this much into that square footage. That's why I asked the question about, is it going to be expanded? But it's great. I mean, today we just have this one dinosaur structure
Yeah.
that has a slide off of it, that has something else off of it, and some climbing, but it all centers around the dinosaur.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Here you have at least 3 or 4 different standalone.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah, and I think if we go back to that a bird's eye view photo, you know, I think we're thinking, and the designers did say there is space for at least one of those, you know, rotating spinner things, like either here, and then maybe we could do 2 of those like small chair, like hub chairs here.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
to be
It's
continued.
great if we can get it on, that's nice.
Next meeting is July 11th, so hoping to do get some answers from them within this month and do some offline, calls with them to understand. Hopefully get a new quote, hopefully understand the space, what else we have space for, and how much we have left to spend. The good news.
Maybe a sense of timing too.
That timeline?
Yeah, so I was gonna touch on that next. We were in a little bit of a pinch before because when we were thinking that it was possible to pursue the pour and play, apparently pour and plays can only be poured before the ground freezes, and they don't like to take any chances like after mid-October. So we had a deadline of first week of October, which means the playground materials would have to go in before end of September, which backdates to having to order everything by end of June. And it was yes, it was way too tight. Like this would have been my first update for you guys. Like there's no way we could already vote on it. Maybe we would have had to have a special meeting or something. It was just getting really tight. And then if we don't do that, then we would have to wait till April, which is possible. Let's say we can order everything early by November, before the ARPA funds run out, and then just wait for the installation. But I think it's honestly, if as a commission we can agree to, to not pursue the pour and play and just, go with the mulch, then we have a lot more leeway left in the timeline.
So we need to do the research on that in terms of the requirements. And Adele, we just have to have the money encumbered by the end of the year, correct?
Your contract signed.
Contract signed.
Mm-hmm. Oh, not actually paid out. But
Right.
probably, the payment's probably shortly after the signing of the contract.
No, the payment would be after it's installed, like once it's
Do we
in place.
we made to put a deposit down?
Ah, okay,
You probably have to pay, a deposit or
Right.
something for some of the equipment.
right.
But normally you wouldn't pay the whole thing until,
Okay, so
So-
Adele, so as long as the contract is signed, it's okay that the money's not actually out of the,
And
Account.
wouldn't quote me on it, I would be really sure and go back and double
We can double check,
Yeah,
but that's my
double check on that.
understanding. So
Okay.
it needs to be encumbered.
is that something you can take?
Yep.
Okay, great.
So this is a 2025 project we're talking about, right? We're not really talking about having this thing ready in 90 days.
I mean, if, without the pour and play, this can be installed in the winter, like over the winter, which would be great.
Yeah. So you're talking about
Yeah,
spring.
I mean, they do concrete
Yeah,
work
it's
year round
spring.
now.
For sure, yeah, I'm almost thinking like, basically if you had it ordered by June, they could install by end of September. So then if you order by November or even October, then you could have it installed by December or January, which would be great for use in the spring. That would be the preferred
I think that's more
timeline.
realistic,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
No, the winter's not bad because the playgrounds aren't
Used as actively,
Right.
yeah.
And then it's brand new come the spring.
Yeah.
So Janet, I think this is great, and I want to thank you because I know this took a lot of time, a lot of research. Had a bunch of meetings. You're a busy person, and you've done a good
Thank
job.
you.
I think it's
Thanks,
good looking, pending the height.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. I think it's hats off to you.
Thank you. So glad you're here, Jennifer. I was definitely, without Jennifer or Tamara, I think we were all a bit like.
It's been a rough go.
Rudderless.
For sure. I think I think Linda had to send me an email telling me like I'm not running the meetings right. like you had to actually officially call the meeting to order. I wasn't even doing that. So
and actually I would say just with the heights, when we're looking at what they are,
yeah.
it would probably be helpful for this group to know how that compares to what's there now.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's right, for sure. That's
so
what.
not
Yeah.
just it's 10 feet tall, but
Yeah.
it's 10 feet and the current one's 9 or whatever. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are gonna wanna know that,
Right.
especially with, McGuire's situation.
Cherry lawn situation.
Because on this one, on the ARPA fund, Adele, if we find out that the money actually has to be used, then that's kind of
Well, whatever you don't spend of that on 6/1
Right.
is gonna get sent back to the state.
That's what I mean.
Or
So
they want, or if you're not gonna spend that, they wanna know it early enough to spend it from somewhere else.
see, that's what I mean. And like, if we weren't gonna pay that full amount until after the playground is installed, then
Yeah, but it's encumbered.
I think as long as it's encumbered, it's
so you
okay.
know it's-
okay.
I'll
That's
double
what I
check
was
on that.
asking.
I
Yeah.
think as long as it's encumbered with a purchase order and they know when it's under contract, I think that's.
Okay, so it doesn't have
but
to
I'll
actually
I'll
have
double
left
check
the
that.
account.
I mean, definitely the selectmen wanted to know almost now or a month ago if funds that have been allocated to projects aren't gonna be used. They're like, we're taking it back and giving it to somebody else so they have time to spend it before the end of the year. So that's why it was important that we showed progress. We're working on this. We've got designs. We're getting there. But I think with that, my understanding is that we can go through to the end of the year as long as we've got that contract underway.
Okay.
I think we're good. I think we're good. But anyway, make sure.
Yeah, good
Yeah,
job.
nice job. We should get all those pictures up on
If I show that.
with the meeting materials. Jen,
Yeah.
follow up so that, you know, the community can look at them and make sure that we socialize them.
Okay. Sorry?
Let's backtrack before we forget. Amy, we had a couple of action items we had to
Sorry, I was.
back on to vote. On the minutes, we did go through them. All of the proposed changes are really their name. I think they're almost all name corrections, right? They're almost all name corrections and spellings, yeah. I think pretty much all of them. So we were just cleaning up, you know, references either wrong, the person's name was incorrect or incorrectly spelled or whatever. So those are the only changes. So I don't know if you had any other changes on the minutes. Okay. Then if we can have a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections discussed this evening. Jim, Amy second, all in favor? Kathy? Kathy?
She's on mute.
Or
Oh, she turned off her video too.
She's in there?
I'm sorry, I'm back. I had to, let someone.
Okay, in favor of the minutes, yes?
Minutes.
Kathy?
Kathy, you have to put your hand up.
If you're in favor of the minutes.
I can hear some of you, but I can't hear every word.
Oh, she can probably hear you better.
Are you in favor of approving the minutes with the corrections that we made?
We'll
Go towards that.
Are you in favor of correcting the minutes with the corrections that we made?
Do you want to approve the minutes? If so, raise your hand.
Do I want to, well, I can't.
Approve,
hear.
to approve the minutes with the corrections that were made?
Do I want to approve them? Yes.
No, this is.
I don't know
I
why.
could hear Jennifer and I could hear Janet, but then the rest of you go in and out.
So it's over there.
Ow, he doesn't seem to be moving.
She said she could hear you, right?
Yes.
That's good.
Okay, so that's that.
Feel bad
Amy.
if she missed.
And then the other action item we had was on the pear tree project. We did make the presentation to the selectmen, discussion that we had at our last meeting. Craig Flaherty, Dan Biggs made a presentation. The selectmen found it very compelling and asked Dan to provide a quote to go to the next step in terms of taking the steps that are needed to create the bid package so we could actually go out to bid as a community. And that came in, Dan's bid is $25,500. The selectmen, I believe, may even have it on the agenda for Monday night, but we thought that was important that
25,500.
500.
Thanks.
That it was important that the commission show its support. So Jennifer prepared the proposed resolution, which is the Parks and Recreation Commission recommends to the Board of Selectmen approval of an appropriation in the amount of $25,500 for Weston and Sampson to prepare construction documents. Okay, Amy moves. Second. Jim? All in favor? Kathy, did you hear that?
I just said yes.
Okay.
We moved to make
All right.
Kathy.
It's really
bake cookies next week.
You're responsible for buying all the drinks.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mentioned to everybody that Jen has used this format in Westport where there's a cover sheet to each action item,
Oh,
giving
great.
the background and stuff, so we'll
Awesome.
be using that going
Nice and
forward.
tidy.
It's nice and tidy. Okay, so let me go back. So we did the minutes.
Lauren, may I ask a question to Del Coniff?
Yes, ma'am.
At what point would that project need a building committee again? I remember you had talked about it.
We'd have to talk to John about that, but I think we would need a building committee once the town decides to go out to bid and decides to go forward. Yeah. Whether he would create it before going out to bid or not. I mean, there is some reference in Dan's proposal to sort of final designs and whatever, so if anything got changed, whether that would come back to us, well, I think that's something I'll have to talk through with him. Because you're correct, we did disband the old building committee because everything was in limbo, and the feeling was that the skill sets that would be needed to oversee a project like this, which is very much, it's technical in nature, might be different than the individuals who served on the building committee in the past. Okay, so we did that, so now it's updates. The first two are invasives, and Cherry Lawn Mary Louise had a conflict this evening. I know that the invasives advisory group is meeting with different landscapers to come up with design plans for the pathway that we're talking about in Cherry Lawn to remediate the area where we cleaned the invasives out. And she said they've met with a couple and have a couple more meetings to go, but that's in progress. But they're not ready to make a recommendation on that. In terms of the Cherry Lawn gardeners, I don't know that they've had any meetings or any updates, but you know, they're busy gardening, and there was a water line break, Jen,
Yes.
that feeds the gardens, and I guess that's been repaired at this point.
Yes,
It's like
we
your
just-
first week, right?
We just,
It's like our first
yes,
day.
so we just got that money,
gosh.
got that money transferred, and it has been completed. So it's back up. One of the things we also did was, with that line being replaced, added another valve, because that also takes care of the ball field irrigation. So everything was shut off. So now by adding that valve, number one, it'll help us isolate it if there should be any kind of breaks in the future, or anything that for any reason, and it'll also help with kind of blowing out the system for the winter. So we went ahead and did that. So it should all be back up and running.
And Jim, I put pickleball on here, but I know we've been somewhat on hold. We were waiting for Jen to arrive and get in the
Yep.
system, and then we can.
Yep, so that's what we did.
Those conversations,
And
yeah.
Jen, just for your own reference, we have put together a pickleball advisory committee. We have met multiple times. We came up with several long-term as well as a short-term solution, but we shelved it until you came on board so we could have more of a conversation and get your involvement and input. So I would like to, I work at the high school, so graduation's Friday, so I'm free after this week.
Okay.
If you have 20 minutes or so,
Sure.
I can sit down and give you an update on where we are at this point and what our options were, and I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Great.
Great, thank you. Okay, that brings us up to the director's report. You will all also notice that Jen recommended reformatting it. You know, historically, we got reports from the different staff members, and they all just kind of followed on. What she did is she took all of the information from the different people providing inputs, and you'll see she broke it into different sections. So one is on projects, one's on programs administration, one's on staff items, one's on facilities, and one's on upcoming events. So she kind of bundled all the information under topics, which I thought were
Easier.
terrific and easy
Yeah,
for us
and-
to understand.
And I will say that moving forward, this was sort of a first time, last minute, quick thing, how quickly this meeting came up. So I'll probably streamline it more, and kind of make it so it's not repetitive and make it go a little bit cleaner, in the future going forward. But, so you all had that to look at, so I'll just kind of hit on sort of high level. The main things, Weed Beach, the meadow and trail project update. So we did clean up, staff kind of cleared some of the debris and the stumps that were there, and put down seed, kind of did a rough grade, put down seed. So now hopefully that'll come up. It'll be a much cleaner look over there, and will certainly be easier to mow. We also are working with Weston and Sampson now on the tree planting plan, that I believe will also go through the neighborhood association, so that they'll be able to give some input with the planting to happen in the fall. So that's what we're expecting to do there.
Are we only planting natives, right? They're native trees.
That is our preference. Dan is working out both the planting plan and the inventory, and we'll have
Right.
a chance to
Right,
review
right.
that.
Right.
I'm sure.
Again, pear tree, park improvements, Lori just went through that. The updates on the ARPA funding. Again, obviously, we just talked about Baker Park. Cherry Lawn, I was there today. They're finishing up the removal of the existing playground, clearly because it's being donated, so it's taking longer because it has to be carefully done. I'm also meeting with them tomorrow, where the installers are coming. They're planning to be there, kind of a larger group, kind of get a handle on what the process is going to be moving forward. So we're going to starting to see the movement take place. The equipment's actually on site. It's there in storage containers. So again, they're saying 30 days, weather dependent, but hopefully we'll be able to kind of move them along. So I'll know more after tomorrow.
And the bricks have been received, and they are at the DPW garage.
Okay.
So
I did not.
there was some talk about delivering them to the park, and we thought that was too risky, so they're in safekeeping at the garage.
And then also, you may have noticed, there was a fence at Baker Park, so that has been installed. So
Nice.
So that's done as well.
Yeah.
Looking at kind of programs and administration, our summer registration is up by about 15% when compared to this time last year, and we've seen increases in each season over the last couple of years, which is
that
nice.
because we're offering more programs, or?
Sorry, I don't know.
We'll give you a couple of days.
I don't know. It's what Jim put in his report. I don't know.
Okay, good.
The beach permit sales are up, comparable to this time last year, with again about $373,000 in permit revenue.
Yeah,
Again,
ideally, I'd love to know how much, just.
how much is up?
Yeah, how much it's
Yeah.
up, because one thing that's on our mind with all the new apartments, as we're talking about, that is parking capacity is something that's going to
Usage.
continue to be
Right.
in our mind. So we're going to want to really track those numbers
Right.
over time and really understand.
And also when we're done with, again, is it that more people bought them earlier this year
Right.
or not? So we'll have to do it at different times throughout the season. Again, our beach gate entrance payments were up over 10% over last year at this time. So we've gotten approximately $7,000 in gate revenue.
Yeah, I did quick
Better
math on
weather.
that.
Which,
We're having much better weather this year.
yes, last year we did have a bad summer.
Very rainy season.
And mostly on the weekends, if I remember correctly. So I know that, that certainly would have an impact because people aren't going to come out.
Yeah, just doing the quick math, it's 140 permits or, cars that came in and bought day passes.
On that topic, just something I observed, this particular hut, the guy that said tonight, we drove in, looks great, he's attentive, he reached out and everything. A lot of times when I go through there, they're just sitting back on a chair
Okay.
like this. And part of the problem is that the chair seems to be a lot lower, you can't even see their heads when you're driving in. So maybe we should get a higher chair or something, I don't know, because they just don't seem to pay a lot of attention.
As a side note, we've had in the budget to replace this gatehouse. It's kind of in rough shape, and that keeps getting cut out of the budget.
Maybe we need to remember to have a bigger window or something when we do the house, but in the meantime.
You drive in, you can't even see the guy.
You can't see the guy, he has to reach out the door, really.
Right.
Yeah, and this one, you're right, this one was very attentive
The guy tonight's
tonight.
great, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's more fun too.
We're also exploring adding a pickleball tournament. Actually, I guess that's, oh, yeah, we're into programs. And then our summer camps and programs, we're starting the week of June 17th, and then more on June 24th. We do still have some space available, and in my report, I went into more detail of all the different programs and things. So we're working right now to try to push and promote that a bit more and get more enrollment. Staff-wise, obviously the main thing for us right now has been our lifeguards. So we've done that. Orientation was held with another one that's going to be on June. We're past June 5th.
Yep.
Never mind.
Yeah,
So we held both of those already. So pretty much everybody's gone through. I know Jim's still been doing more certifications and testing with people just if they needed it and they missed. So that's been going on. So again, we've held some in-service training and that will continue throughout the season with lifeguards, whether it's different rescue techniques or CPR, all that kind of stuff to make sure that they're up to date, not just up to date, but aware, and it's like second nature, so that, to help them help everybody else. We also have a seasonal employee that's working with the parks crew, and we have another seasonal employee that's in the office that's helping out with various office things, selling the beach emblems, stuff like that, as well as working with staff on special events. So he's been helping out with all that. When it comes to facilities and maintenance, obviously they're busy. This is the time of year that they're running all over the place. So really busy mowing, prepping the ball fields. The beaches are all set up. That happened probably since the last meeting. They're raking the beaches on the weekends multiple times during the week. They've been spending time, obviously watering the new shrubs and trees where needed. Again, there's more detailed information in the written report of all the different locations. And then, as was mentioned, that we have the water line break at the gardens. And then just...
What about the new trees that we planted at Cherry Lawn? Are they all done with the watering?
No, I think they're still watering some of those.
They're still watering those?
Yeah.
Remember Janet? Janet was in charge of watering those trees. What a nightmare.
That's why we haven't installed any of the flowers. Because we can't figure out the watering problem, we're not gonna waste more money on the flowers.
Yeah.
Right.
And then some of the upcoming events to keep in mind, we're having the Darien Summer Nights, the concerts with Baywater Properties at Tilly Pond Park. They're going to be held on June 21st, July 26th, August 2nd, and August 16th, all starting at 6 o'clock. We are going to have the Russ Davis Band here at Weed Beach on June 28th. Again, that'll be free, starting at 7 o'clock. The fireworks are July 12th with the rain date of the 19th. And we have the Town Luau scheduled for August 23rd. And then looking way forward, the town tree lighting probably December 1st and December 7th, an old-fashioned holiday at Tilly Pond Park. So those are some of the events that we're starting to prepare for and get ready for. So.
Questions for Jen? Okay. You gotta go. Sorry, guys.
Hi, Jen.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, let me go through what I've got. Great Island Committee has been very active, very active. We've had quite a few meetings. Since we all last met, we continued with the RFP process. We had 16 firms bid. We whittled that down to 4 firms that we had extensive interviews with, two each and 2 back-to-back evenings. And after various discussions and some follow-up information with those, we did select the firm of Hildebrand Reed, which is based out of New Haven. All of the proposals, all 16 were really phenomenal. And, for those of us who are parks people, just reading, 16 different books where each firm showcased different parks projects they've done around the country and sometimes in other countries. And seeing what's out there and what's being done today, it's really exciting to look at it. Just kind of gets your juices flowing and salivating. But We did settle on Reed Hildebrand. They're a fantastic firm. You just, in my personal sense is they're very creative, and you could just feel how the land spoke to them. I mean, you just could feel that they are just so enthralled by the property and the possibilities and whatever. And I think they're going to be a really terrific partner for us.
The full name is Reed Hildebrand?
Reed Hildebrand, R-E-E-D, Hildebrand.
Okay. Landscaping or?
They're a landscape architect. What I was
Okay.
going to mention is most of the firm, really all of the firms, to different extents, are really bringing a group of firms together. So Reed will be the lead on this, coordinating all of the activities. Some of the bigger firms were able to do more in-house, have more departments, and some of the smaller firms then rely on partners. But what's interesting with these partners is they're partnering with firms that this is all, whatever the discipline is, it's all that they do. And it was interesting that, as we were reading through the 16 proposals, I started to notice, like, I saw that company's name before. And some of the company names ended up coming up in multiple occasions. And in fact, when we were down doing the final 4 interviews, one of the first night, there was one guy there from one of the firms. And then they all, we said our goodbyes, and the next group comes in, whatever, and I'm looking and going,
He's back.
it's the same guy.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
there for both, so it was kind of interesting.
Because they're experts within their.
Because they're experts within their niche. So for
region.
instance, there's with the group that we set, there's a creative placemaking firm, there's an engineering firm. There's a firm that came up quite a bit that are experts in funding development, governments, how to help us think about getting, sort of some level of revenue out of the property and what that's going to look like, or whether it's, donations or, running operations on it. So, and this is all they do, is help municipalities figure that out. The architecture firm they're using specializes in adaptive reuse and preservation architecture. There's a firm that specializes in accessibility. There's one that's a firm that their name came up quite a bit in ecology and biodiversity. Cost consulting firm. Reed Hildebrand's bringing in a waterfronts activity specialist, and then there's specialists in lightings, operations management, irrigation, and something else that I can't even read my own writing. But just all of it makes you think about everything that's involved in developing a project like this. But they really brought a good group. So the next step is the contract, I believe, is under negotiation, but we need to secure the funding from the RTM. And I believe that's on Monday night's agenda. So if that gets approved by the RTM, then the contract will get finalized. I think the hope is that Reed would get to work around July 1st. About the first 30 days is really they're doing a lot of their own due diligence. I mean, that they've done a lot on the project, but it's really studying, architectural drawings of the buildings. I mean, the real deep dive information they need to do to get the, really know everything inside out about the parcel to get themselves going. And then the first phase would be, the vision plan, and then, public meetings and public engagement would start. There's a high level of public engagement activities that they're planning throughout the year. And all in all, it'll be about a 12-month process. So there'll be a lot going on there, but, pending the approval of the funding, we should be off and running, within the next 30 days to really start visioning what the parcel is going to be like. Separately, you might have all saw the news, I think it was in the newsletter, that there's, I don't know the name of the filmmakers, but there's a group that have done different film series. They did one on, I think it was called The Men Who Made America. It was on the History Channel some years ago, but they're doing a series on the Battle of Lexington and Concord, and they're actually going to be filming next week on the property. And I think Monica said 7 of the 8 episodes are going to be filmed on the island using the mansion, the stables, and the property. And it'll be open as usual to the public next week, so if you want to go and
Watch the filming.
watch the filming or whatever.
Jim was telling me you wanted to be an extra.
Oh, yeah. You want to be an extra? Stand
I meant
there.
you, Jim.
Revolutionary.
Stand there
Jim,
and
you're a
look good.
revolutionary guy. Yeah, right? So we just volunteered him.
Right, and we are, let's see, I saw one, but I couldn't approve that. There was a decision made that we would, with some request, get a porta potty on site. So I think the film crews has a couple, they're just for those purposes or temperature, but, you know, we're gonna have a porta potty and have it, you know, permanently on site until, you know, better public bathrooms are made available. Because I was think people, it's a long enough walk from Pear Tree that we were getting a fair number of requests to have.
Really?
Yeah,
I'd say put in a location that's not really noticeable.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
behind the oyster
That
pods.
royal blue porta potty.
yeah, I think the one I saw, the committee was up there yesterday, I think the one I saw was right in front of the,
Stables?
no, the gate, the carriage house,
Okay.
the carriage house.
Oh, really?
But maybe you could do like up at Highland Farms, we put some wooded thing around it at least.
Okay.
At least,
Well,
I
Put
don't know.
it
Make
near
it look nice.
the bubbler room with the oyster bed seeds or whatever.
I don't know, I haven't gotten, we haven't discussed the placement of the committee, but.
You
Yeah.
can't go off the path.
Yeah, so that's.
can't
go-
you
right.
can't go there.
That road,
I mean,
yeah.
really, it's gonna be a long path.
The oyster beds are right there.
No, you have to be on the path. So, I mean, anywhere it's gonna be visible, anywhere it is.
You
But
can't
anyway,
walk
all right, let's not digress into
Where
the
the
porta potty
boat is?
placement. So that's where we are on Great Island. The Coastal Commission, we were supposed to meet this week, that was canceled. The meeting last month, they continued to work on the update to the harbor management mooring policy that's working its way through the system. Clearly, it won't be in place for this season because the boating season's already in very full swing. That continues to work along. Weed Beach, we already really talked about, you know, I've met with, you know, Dan Biggs and we're going back and forth and updating his amendment to his contract to do the work to oversee the work that Sandy and the crew have been doing to do the tree planting plan and then also to come up with a phased implementation of the approved project and how we might do it over several years and break it up into parts. The selectmen had talked about, you know,
Is
what
this
could
the
we...
pathway? Or what is
Well, the
this?
project now, when we went to the selectmen, they said, well, you know, can you figure out what you could do,
For this
how
amount?
much of it you could do for the $1 million, and we were thinking, so more of a phased implementation, so.
Part of it, then part of it
right.
again.
So we went to the selectmen and the Board of Finance, got the funding approval for that, and that contract was signed, what, a couple days ago.
It's like I-95. It's like I-95, just doing portions along
Right.
the way.
Right, so that's buttoned down for now, and then we'll set up a meeting with, as soon as the planting plan is done with Norotan Bay, and coordinate that through Jim Furlong, who came to our April meeting. Jen and I spent a couple hours together, 2-3 hours together last week, just getting up to speed on various things. I met with Susan Marks, John Bolton, and Frank Huck, who are working on a project for John Zagrodsky, just talking to various town committee and commission chairs about how their groups work, how we work between groups, things of that nature. I think, Susan, you'll be going back with some just, you know, thoughts to John in terms of, you know, there's just things like, you know, does your commission understand what their role is and how they fit into it? I mean, just really helping put all the people. It was a good session. I thought it was great dialogue, and I know you're still working away at that. But I appreciated the opportunity to have input into the process. The Weed Beach Eagle project went really well. It's looking good. I had over the first weekend, I don't know, 30, 40 different people down here between the 2 days working and pulling weeds. My husband and I were down here, pulled a lot of mugwort. And then it didn't get finished the first weekend, so then, you know, came back, did more work the second weekend and got the first 2 sections done. And the grass is coming in really nicely already. I can really see that it's grown quite a bit, but there's also a lot of mugwort coming back. So already, so we have to work on that. Susan said Joanne Gabriel was trying to get the parcel registered so that master gardeners can weed it and get credit towards their service hours.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, I'll have to follow up with her on that, but we're gonna have to keep after that mugwort pretty quickly. But it looks so much better, so I really hope as a commission that we can think about how we get the other 2 sections done probably next year at this point.
Right.
to really.
Eagle Scout coming into play.
Yeah, and the Eagle Scout, he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah.
He was very knowledgeable about the plants and what should stay and what should go. His mom and dad were very involved. He was just, James, he was just a delight to work with. And I know I had a lot of fun just kind of sitting, digging my weeds, listening to all these teenagers kind of talk, because I don't have teenagers around right now. So it was really fun.
So, Lori, I really can't hear you at all.
Okay, well, I will speak up as best I can. Almost done at this point. I also want to mention that Kateri Daly was honored by the Community Fund of Darien. They have an annual awards night where they recognize many, many volunteers throughout the community. Kateri and 3 or 4 other teens were recognized as sort of emerging volunteers, and she was recognized for her Eagle Scout project where she created the collection bins that we have here at Weed Beach. So that was very nice. I have met with several potential candidates to fill our open spots on this commission, and that should be buttoned up fairly soon. And we talked about the Cherry Lawn Playground, and that's all I've got. That's what's been going on.
Can I mention just 2 quick things?
Sure.
So I mean, I happen to spend a lot of time down at Pantry, but 2 things. A lot of people talk about the sand down there, and I know we had a bad winter with the rocks coming up and all that stuff, and I know it's another cost issue, and it's not gonna happen this year, but there's a lot of rocks in the sand down there, and on the other side, where what do we call that side?
The West Beach?
Where it floods all the time. West Beach?
The West Beach, yeah.
People complain about glass being in the sand. So I know we sift it and everything else, but I don't know. This year, for whatever reason, complaining about a lot of rocks.
Okay.
The other thing was, anyway, also friends with the Priscilla family. His Matthew Priscilla, that remember the bench we approved at the last meeting? So the family is donating a bench in his name down at Pantry. His twin brother and his son Joe asked if there was any way of placing that closer to the gazebo, only because Matthew would hang out there with his friends on a daily basis, like 7 days a week they were down there. So if it's a possibility of putting the bench in that location, they asked if I'd just bring it up to the commission.
Okay. Okay. Usually we work with Sandy on the specific placement.
And that was here at Weed
benches.
Beach?
No, over at Pear Tree.
Pear Tree, okay.
It's as close as you can get to the gazebo there. They're there every day if you go down there, about 6 of them, including his brother. So that's it.
Okay. That's all I've got. Any other questions?
Welcome.
Thank
We're
you.
so happy to have you.
Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
There's
Hands up.
Kathy.
Yep, okay, all right, we're done.